And the stage is set in the Travers.
It's Damascus and the shoe.
And the stage is set in the Travers.
And Runaway Groom from Canada moves up. Runaway Groom alongside.
And the stage is set in the Travers.
And it is Thunder Rumble.
And they're at the top of the stretch.
Medaglia D Oro wins the Travers Stakes.
Street Sense and Grasshopper.
And Street Sense
prevails. And the stage is set in the Travers.
It's a dead heat in the Travers.
And they're at the top of the stretch.
Rich Strike.
Oh my goodness!
Zandon wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
Here comes Artorias. Here comes Artorias.
Cyberknife in front.
And the field is at the top of the stretch. And Epicenter's out in the middle of the track. And he's the center of attention now.
And he is at the top of the 3-year-old class. Epicenter won the Jim Dandy, and he backs it up in with the run of the Travers. Courtland Simmons with you here at the CS Racing Report with the Travers Stakes recap, won by Epicenter in 2 minutes, 3/5 seconds, 2 minutes, .72 digital time. Before we fully recap the Midsummer Derby, let's take a look back at some preview pod pre-race projections. Cyberknife was sparkling in registering a 102 and winning the Haskell over Taba in 146.24, but I just get the hunch that he won't glide as smoothly over this deep and cuppy and tiring Saratoga surface, so I'm tossing him. Early voting, the 7, the Preakness winner, flopped in a field of 4, finishing last after getting soft fractions in the Jim Dandy where he was defeated by Epicenter. People say that he needed the race off the long layoff, but he didn't need to finish 4th, so that was disturbing enough based on all those aforementioned factors to toss him. I think one of the horses you have to look at. In the end, we may end up saying, why did we waste the time? But Rich Strike had a nice work over the Saratoga surface. People say, I think that the distance isn't going to be a problem. The question is, can he step up from the 90 that he ran in the Belmont, finishing 6th, which was a drop-off from his career best in the Derby of 101. I think he possibly could answer it. So, my upset special is
Rich Strike.
the 2, the 6, the 5, and the 8, those same exacta numbers, as well as the final 2 numbers being flipped, 2, 6, 8, 5. So it's 2, 6, 5, 8, or 2, 6, same exacta, 8, 5, flipping Artorias and Zandon. Artorias glided beautifully in the Courtland. He's a son of the record-breaking Travers winner Arrowgate, so he's got a lot of cachet, same ownership, Juddmonte Farm. It's a big hurdle to clear, to beat these horses, but I think he'll like the trip. I don't think the 5, the 6, the 1, and the 8, same exacta here, flipping those numbers on the tail end, the 5, the 6, the 8, the 1 using Zandon and Cyberknife. I do think that he possibly could run top 4. And then here's my wild card, Zandon. He has run 98 in the Bluegrass. Everybody went crazy and buzzed over him based on that. I thought that he needed to improve 7 to 12 points. Come to find out, in the end, he only needed to improve 4 or 5 points and he would have won the Kentucky Derby. Couldn't get by Epicenter or the winner. And he ran a duplicate number in the Jim Dandy. Showed technical speed in a race that had none. Finished pretty well, but he still ran a 98. The question is, can he get over the century mark and then some and beat these horses? Because that's probably what it's going to take. But I do think he's a wild card. The 8, the 6, the 2, and the 5. So consider those numbers. And then my final pick, obviously, that brings me to the aforementioned Epicenter, trained by Steve Asmussen. He has always been consistent. He runs that career best 102. The only time that he didn't after his Risen Star win was in the Derby, where Rich Strike edged him in the dying moments of the first leg of the Triple Crown. Can he run a freak number? Can he, whether he sits on the pace like he did in the Louisiana Derby, stalking and pouncing, rating very nicely, or if he decides to hang back like he did in the Jim Dandy and to some extent the Derby and in the Preakness where he kind of got off, where he kind of missed the break, can he basically bury these horses in the Travers? He's been the best horse all year, and he'll get his grade 1 in the Travers Stakes. The 6, the 5, the 8, the 1. or the 6, the 2, the 5, and the 8 with Rich Strike, Artorias, and Zandon filling out those numbers. You could also go 6, 2, 5, 1. EPICENTER lived up to his namesake with an earth-shattering performance in the Travers Stakes, winning in 2 minutes, 3/5 seconds, 2 minutes, .72 digital time by 5 1/4 lengths, 112 Beyer speed figure. He absolutely freaked the field. And in terms of the horses that he beat, and looking at the trip analysis, Rich Strike got a nice inside trip, had Zandon pinned on the outside, but floated wide on the home turn. Zandon was able to slip inside, and I think that made the difference between third and fourth. He was able to slip inside when Rich Strike floated out in the home stretch. He was able to make his belated Zandon run. Again, he's not a brilliant horse. He's a lot like Tacitus. He's a grinder. It's not the distance, it's the brilliance or the lack thereof. Cyberknife was expected to be sent coming out of the number 1. What wasn't expected is that he would lead all the way throughout. He stepped on the gas 3 furlongs out, letting it out a notch before he was confronted by the eventual winner. He held on nicely in the stretch while being surrounded by both Zandon and Rich Strike to get the runner-up spot. So it was a nice performance from him. The winner exhibited flawless fluidity, beautifully tracking the leaders on the inside of Zandon. The number 7 made a monster middle move on the turn when Cyberknife shifted gears. He shifted into several gears, went supersonic on the field in becoming one of the fastest Travers winners ever, joining an esteemed group of horses to win both the Jim Dandy and the Travers Stakes. And so let's take a look at the future forecasting of these 3-year-olds and where they'll go in terms of the Breeders' Cup and other graded stakes races. Early voting was terrible in the Jim Dandy, even worse here. He probably won't be back anytime soon, but upon his reappearance, they got to cut him back. Vosburg, Kelso, Bold Ruler, maybe a run in either in the Breeders' Cup and or Cigar Mile. My thinking is that they'll focus on the Cigar Mile. It's a grade 1 as well. Ain't Life Grand, Oklahoma Derby, Artorias, maybe the second coming of Connect, trained by Chad Brown, 6th to Arrowgate in 2016. Possibly he finished 6th here. He could go to the Pennsylvania Derby, and we'll see what happens. He could stay home, though, and run in the Woodward a week later. He would get the weight for age allowance given to 3-year-olds, where he would carry 121 versus 126. Gilded Age, similar pathway, could go to Parks. He's a horse that's bred to run all day, and he very well, Bill Mott could map out a turf plan for him in the future, maybe even as soon as this year. So as for the Derby winner, Rich Strike, ideally the Lucas Classic, staying at home at Churchill, small commute to Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup Classic, going back to Churchill during the holiday Thanksgiving period for the Clark would be ideal, even for a horse, a 1 1/4 horse that doesn't have sort of the tactical talent to be a force at a 1 1/8. If he can develop that, he could be more effective. He's going to probably choose the Breeders' Cup Classic and put it on ice for the year, or the Clark. He may run in both of them, but the likelihood is he'll probably run in one of those. Zandon, there's a million reasons to cut back. He won the Bluegrass at 9 furlongs, so the Pennsylvania Derby could be the next option. He could wait a week, though, like Artorias, and run in the Woodward with a weight allowance, 121 versus 126, before taking a shot in a race where he will get a setup in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's like Tacitus. He's a check cutter. He's not brilliant. The distance isn't really as much of a problem as everybody thinks, but I think those are logical options, with the Clark possibly being a back-end choice. Cyberknife also has many options. He could easily run in the Pennsylvania Derby or Oklahoma, but I think that Brad Cox will do the same thing with him as he did with Nixgo in 2021. He used the Lucas Classic at Churchill as a springboard to the Breeders' Cup Classic. Nixgo won that race, went on to win the Breeders' Cup. So that's a possibility, along with running in the Classic and maybe running in the Clark. That may not be on the table because Cox tried that with Owendale a couple years back. Tough run at Santa Anita in the Classic. Came back in the Clark, ran I think 2nd or 3rd to Tom's de Tot in that race. So he might want to basically pinch back from doing that. As for the winner, EPICENTER, the ideal spot, rather than training him up to the Classic, would be to run him in the Woodward, be in the history books as a 3-year-old winning that race. Again, the weight allowance, 121 mile and a quarter, would suit him just fine. He has nothing to prove against the 3-year-olds, although there's a million reasons to go to Parks. But it looks as though they're going to do, as they say, bubble wrap him, as the saying goes. That's what they're going to likely do. And they're going to do the Bob Baffert AA method of preparation of 9 weeks that Baffert used with Arrogate and American Pharoah to give him his best chance to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'm a purist that thinks that the Woodward would be the ideal spot. We're going to certainly see what they all do, how everyone plots and plans in the lead up to the Breeders' Cup and other graded stake races. But in the meantime, Epicenter gallops into the history books as a top-tier Travers winner by 5 1/4 lengths in 2 minutes 3/5 seconds, 2 minutes .72 digital time, and stamp himself as a leading contender for Horse of the Year.